मेजरिंग डिवाइसेस एंड स्केल्स सब देखा जाए इंट्रोडक्शन. मेजरिंग डिवाइसेस एंड स्केल्स आर एसेंशियल टूल्स इन साइंटिफिक रिसर्च, engineering, medicine, and various fields of technology. These instruments help in obtaining accurate and precise measurements, which are crucial for advancement in science and technology. ठीक, जैसे एल्टीमीटर क्या करता है, मेजर एल्टीट्यूड ऑफ एन ऑब्जेक्ट, मेनली इन एरोप्लेन्स में ये इस्तेमाल होता है लगभग. Used in aviation, mountaineering, skydiving to determine elevation. Developed in the early 20th century, modern altimeters use barometric pressure to estimate altitude. मतलब barometric प्रेशर को देखते हैं एल्टीट्यूड नापने के लिए, ठीक, जो एटमॉस्फेयर में होता है. एमीटर एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज टू मेजर इलेक्ट्रिक करंट इन ए सर्किट. ठीक, इलेक्ट्रिक करंट के को करने के लिए. फाउंड इन इलेक्ट्रिकल एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सर्किट्स टू मॉनिटर करंट फ्लो. मतलब कितना करंट फ्लो हो रहा है वो देखते हैं. एंड्रे मैरी एम्पियर ने laid the foundation of current measurement. The first practical ammeter was developed in late 19th century. Anemometer देखा जाए, a device used for measuring wind speed and wind pressure. Anemometer. Application used in meteorology, aviation, and environmental studies. First invented by Leon Battista Alberti in 1450. Modern versions use digital technology. Actinometer, a device used to measure the heating power or intensity of solar radiation. जैसे helps in studying solar energy and climate change. The first actinometer was introduced in 19th century of John Herschel. Actinometer, heating power or intensity of solar radiation. ठीक है. Accelerometer, a device that senses different types of acceleration or vibration, used in mobile phones, aircraft, and earthquake detection. The concept of accelerometer dates back to Isaac Newton's law of motion, but modern accelerometers use MEMS technology. Atmometer, a device used for measuring the rate of water evaporation. Atmometer, water evaporation नापने के लिए. Used in agriculture, environmental science, and hydrology. ठीक. Audiometer, an instrument used for measuring or evaluating hearing acuity. ठीक. Used in audiology to diagnose hearing impairments. First developed in early 20th century for medical use. Barograph, a type of barometer that records atmospheric pressure over time in graphical form में ऐसे. Used in meteorology to track weather patterns. ठीक. History, invented in 19th century, an improvement over the traditional barometers. Barograph. ठीक. A barometer, a device used for measuring atmospheric pressure, helps in weather prediction or altitude measurements. ठीक. किसने इन्वेंट किया था? इवेंगेलिस्ट टोरिकेली ने 1643 में. बोलोमीटर, a device to measure the power of incident electromagnetic radiation via the heating of material with temperature dependent electrical resistance. ठीक. Used in astronomy and infrared detection. Invented by Samuel Langley in 1878. Caliper, a device used to measure the distance between two opposite sides of an object. A device used to measure the distance between two opposite sides of an object. ठीक. मतलब एकदम ये पॉइंट भी एकदम वो नापता है. Used in engineering, manufacturing, medicine, calipers have existed since ancient Greece and Rome. But vernier caliper were introduced by Perry Vernier in 1631. Calorimeter, an object used for calorimetry, the process of measuring the heat of chemical reaction or physical changes as well as heat capacity. Used in chemistry, thermodynamics, and food science. The first ice calorimeter was used by Antony Lavoisier in 18th century. लेवेजियर को केमिस्ट्री का जनक भी माना जाता है. ठीक. cardiography, an instrument for recording graphically the movement of the heart used in medical graphically movement of heart used in medical diagnostics to assess heart function. The first electrocardiography ECG was invented by Wilhelm Einthoven in 1903. Chronometer, a specific type of mechanical timepiece, tested and certified to meet certain precision standard, used by navigators in the sea. Chronometer. Chronometer timepiece tested and certified to meet certain precision standard. Application essential for accurate timekeeping in navigation and astronomy. Invented by John Harrison in 1735 to improve marine navigation. Chronometer. Colorimeter, a device used to measure the absorbance of particular wavelength of light by a specific solution. ठीक है, ये केमिस्ट्री इन्वायरमेंटल टेस्टिंग ऑफ बायोलॉजी में developed in the early 20th century as an improvement over spectrophotometers. Cathetometer, an instrument used to measure vertical distance. Vertical distance used in physics experiment for cathetometer. Accurate measurement of displacement and refractive indices. First used in 19th century for precision measurement in laboratories. Cryometer, a type of thermometer used to measure very low temperature of an object, used in cryogenic space research and low temperature physics. Cryogenic thermometers were developed in early 20th century. सुपर कंडक्टिविटी को पढ़ने के लिए या मतलब रिसर्च करने के लिए. साइक्लोट्रॉन, एन apparatus that accelerates charged particles outwards from the center along a spiral path. अच्छा, ये इलेक्ट्रॉन ऐसे ही जा रहा है तो इसको जो बाहर निकालना है उसके लिए साइक्लोट्रॉन का इस्तेमाल होता है. यूज्ड इन न्यूक्लियर फिजिक्स, मेडिसिन, रेडिएशन थेरेपी एंड आइसोटोप प्रोडक्शन. अर्नेस्टो लॉरेंस ने 1930 में इसको ढूंढा था और नोबेल प्राइज मिला 1939 में. क्रेस्कोग्राफ, ए डिवाइस यूज्ड टू मेजर द ग्रोथ इन प्लांट्स, हेल्प्स इन प्लांट्स फिजियोलॉजी एंड एग्रीकल्चरल रिसर्च. इन्वेंटेड बाय जगदीश चंद्र बोस इन द अर्ली 20th century. किसने ढूंढा था इसे? जगदीश चंद्र बोस ने. डायलेटोमीटर, एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट दैट मेजर वॉल्यूम चेंजेस caused by physical or chemical processes. अच्छा, used in material science, thermal expansion and expansion study, metallurgy. History developed in 19th century. Deep circle क्या है? A device used to measure an angle between horizon and Earth's magnetic field. Deep angle. क्या? डिवाइस यूज टू मेजर एंगल बिटवीन द हॉरिजॉन. अच्छा, धरती और अर्थ का जो मैग्नेटिक फील्ड का एंगल है उसको डीप एंगल कहते हैं. उसको यूज्ड इन जियो फिजिक्स एंड मैग्नेटिक फील्ड स्टडीज. फर्स्ट यूज्ड इन 18th century फॉर मैग्नेटिक नेविगेशन. ओके. डायनमो, ए डिवाइस यूज्ड फॉर convert mechanical energy into electrical energy. Used in power generation and automotive alternators. Invented by Michael Faraday in 1830s. डायनेमोमीटर का डेफिनेशन क्या है? ए डिवाइस यूज्ड फॉर मेजरिंग फोर्स, टॉर्क और पावर ऑफ एन इंजन. डायनेमोमीटर मैकेनिकल एनर्जी को इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी में बदलता है. फराडे ने इसको ढूंढा था. डायनेमोमीटर, ए डिवाइस यूज्ड फॉर मेजरिंग फोर्स, टॉर्क एंड पावर ऑफ एन इंजन. यूज्ड इन मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर, ऑटोमोटिव टेस्टिंग. फर्स्ट यूज्ड इन 19th century फॉर मेजरिंग हॉर्स पावर. इलेक्ट्रोइंसेफेलोग्राफ, EEG. इलेक्ट्रोइंसेफेलोग्राफ, an instrument used for recording the electrical activity of the brain. An instrument used for recording the electrical activity of the brain, EEG. Used in neurology to diagnose epilepsy, sleep disorders and brain injuries. invented by Hans Berger in 1920. Electrometer, an electrical instrument for measuring electric charge or electrical potential difference. इलेक्ट्रिक चार्ज या इलेक्ट्रो पोटेंशियल डिफरेंस नापने के लिए इलेक्ट्रोमीटर, यूज्ड इन फिजिक्स एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन ऑफ आयोनाइजिंग रेडिएशन मेजरमेंट, 18th सेंचुरी में लगभग डिस्कवर किया गया था. इलेक्ट्रोस्कोप, एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज्ड टू डिटेक्ट द प्रेजेंस ऑफ मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिक चार्ज ऑन ए बॉडी. इलेक्ट्रिक चार्ज अगर किसी बॉडी पे हो तो उसको नापने के लिए. यूज्ड इन इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक्स एंड फिजिक्स एजुकेशन. विलियम गिलबर्ट ने इन्वेंट किया था इलेक्ट्रोस्कोप. इवोपोरीमीटर, मेजरिंग रेट ऑफ वाटर एवोपरेशन फ्रॉम वेट सरफेस टू द एटमॉस्फेयर. ठीक है. इंडोस्कोप, एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज्ड इन मेडिसिन टू लुक इनसाइड द बॉडी, minimally used in minimally invasive surgeries and diagnostic. Fiber optic endoscope introduced in 1960s. Fathometer, measure depth of the sea, used in oceanography, marine navigation and underwater surveys. Developed in early 20th century using sonar technology. Fathometer. Fluxmeter, used to measure the magnetic flux in electromagnetism and electrical engineering. First developed. Galvanometer, an electrical instrument for detecting and indicating electrical current. Gravimeter, an instrument used for measuring gravitational acceleration. Used in geophysics, oil exploration and space research. ठीक. First developed in 18th century. Modern versions are used in satellite technology. ठीक. Gravimeter. Gyroscope, a device used for measuring angular velocity. ठीक. Used in navigation, aviation and spacecraft guidance. Invented by Leon Foucault in 1852. Hydrometer. Hydrometer definition, an instrument for measuring the relative density of liquids. Hydrometer, used in chemistry, brewing and battery testing. Used since the times of Archimedes in ancient Greece. Gyroscope, angular velocity नापने के लिए. ठीक. Hydrophone, an instrument used for recording and listening the underwater sound. Used in marine research, submarine and underwater communication. World War I के दौरान ये मतलब ढूंढा गया था. Hygrometer, an instrument for measuring the relative humidity of the atmosphere. Used in meteorology and environmental monitoring. Invented by Leonardo da Vinci ने ढूंढा था इसको, हाइग्रोमीटर को. वाह, लियोनार्डो डा विंची. Hygroscope, an instrument that gives an indication of the humidity of air. इंडिकेशन देता है. ठीक. Hydrometer, a device of hypsometer, calibrating thermometers at the boiling point of water at known height above sea level or for estimating height above the sea level for finding temperature at which water boils. मतलब कहाँ जो है पानी बॉयल होगा वहाँ तक नापने के लिए. Chemograph, a device to record muscular motion, changes in blood pressure and other psychological phenomena. Used in physiology and medical research. Lactometer, an instrument used to check purity of milk by measuring its density, dairy in Luxmeter, an equipment that measures the brightness of light falling off on an object at a particular area. Used in photography, environmental studies and lighting design. Modern lux meters were introduced in 20th century with advancement of photometry. Lysimeter, a device used to measure the amount of actual evapotranspiration released by plants. Used in agriculture and hydrology for Water cycle studies first used in agriculture research in early 20th century. Lysimeter. Magnetometer, also known as a magnetic sensor. It measures magnetism either in magnetization of a magnetic material like a ferromagnet, or the direction, strength, or relative change of magnetic field at a particular location. Magnetometer used in geophysics, navigation, and space research. History first developed in 1830s. Modern versions are used in satellite magnetometry. Manometer. Manometer, a device to measure the pressure of liquids or gases. Application used in fluid mechanics, medical devices, and engineering. Invented by Evangelista Torricelli in 1643 while developing the barometer. Manometer. Microphone, a transducer that converts sound waves into electrical signals. Microphone. Sound waves into used in communication, music, and broadcasting. Invented by Emile Bernier in the late 19th century. Developed by Alexander, further developed by Alexander Graham Bell. Microtome, a tool used for cutting extremely thin slices of materials, used in sections especially in biology and observed under a microscope or electron microscope. Used in histology or pathology for tissue examination. First developed in mid 19th century to improve medical research. Nephoscope, an instrument for measuring the altitude, direction, and velocity of clouds. Measuring nephoscope, altitude, direction, and velocity of clouds. ठीक, क्लाउड मूवमेंट की स्टडीज के लिए नेफोस्कोप का इस्तेमाल होता है. ओडोमीटर, मेजरिंग द डिस्टेंस ट्रेवल्ड बाई ए व्हील व्हीकल. ओडोमीटर. ऑटोमोबाइल, बाइसिकल और ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सिस्टम में पहले एंशियंट रोम में यूज होता था, फिर मॉडर्न डिजिटल ओडोमीटर्स वेर इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन 20th century. ठीक. ओडोमीटर. ऑन्डोमीटर, measuring the frequency or wavelength of electromagnetic waves. ठीक. Used in radio engineering and physics. Developed in 20th century for advancements of telecommunications. Periscope, an instrument for observation over, around, or through an object or condition that prevents direct line of sight observation from the observer's current position. Used in submarines, military surveillance, and optical instruments. History क्या है? Invented by Hippolyte Mary Davy, further developed during World War I. ठीक. Phonograph, a device for mechanical recording and reproduction of sound. ठीक. Used in audio recording and playback. Invented by Thomas Edison. Photometer, an instrument of measuring the intensity of light, used in astronomy, physics, and photography. First developed in the 18th century. Modern digital photometers are widely used today. Potentiometer, an instrument for measuring voltage by comparison of an unknown voltage with a known reference voltage, or to measure the electromotive force EMF. A differential potential that gives rise to an electric current. Piconometer, a laboratory device used for measuring the density or specific gravity of materials, liquids, or fluids. ठीक. फिर हेलियोमीटर, measuring direct beam solar irradiance. फिर हेलियोमीटर, used in solar energy studies and climate research. First developed in early 20th century and to study solar radiation. Pyrometer, a type of remote sensing radiation thermometer used to measure high surface temperatures. मुझे डायरेक्ट वेरी बात है, सॉरी. Pyrometer used in industrial furnaces, metallurgy, and astronomy. First introduced in later 19th century for non-contact temperature measurements. हाँ, कंप्लीट करो. Psychrometer, an apparatus used to measure the relative humidity of the atmosphere, used in meteorology and HVAC systems. Invented in 18th century for weather studies. Rain gauge, also called odometer, pluviometer, or ombrometer. It gathers and measures the amount of liquid precipitation over a period. Used in meteorology for weather forecasting and hydrology. First developed in ancient India and Korea, modern version were standardized in 17th century. Radiometer, a device for measuring the radiant flux of electromagnetic radiation, used in astronomy, remote sensing and climate research. Take refractometer, a device used for measuring the index of refraction, used in optics, gemology and food processing. Sugar content in liquids, first developed in 19th century for optical studies. Salinometer. Salinometer is used for measuring salinity of water. Oceanography, aquaculture, water quality testing. Saccharimeter, an instrument used for measuring concentration of sugar solution. ठीक. फूड एंड बेवरेज इंडस्ट्री में सेक्सटेंट, measure angular distance between two visible objects. ठीक. To determine the height, used to determine the height of celestial bodies. Sextant. स्फाइग्नोमीटर, मेजर ब्लड प्रेशर. मेडिकल डायग्नोसिस में यूज होता है, डायग्नोस्टिक्स में. सैमुअल सिगफ्रीड कार्ल रिटर वन बॉश ने ढूंढा था. स्टेथोस्कोप, लिसनिंग टू हार्ट एंड लंग साउंड्स. ठीक. रील लेनेक ने इन्वेंट किया था. स्पीडोमीटर, ए डिवाइस दैट मेजर्स एंड डिस्प्लेज द इंस्टेंटेनियस स्पीड्स ऑफ ए व्हीकल. ठीक. यूज्ड इन ऑटोमोबाइल, मोटरसाइकिल एंड एयरक्राफ्ट. Tachometer, an instrument used for measuring the rotation speed of a software device, used in automobiles, aircraft and industrial machine. First used in steam engines in the 19th century. Viscometer, an instrument used to measure the viscosity of a fluid, used in material science, petroleum industry and food processing. Wind vane, an instrument for showing the direction of the wind, used in meteorology and aviation. Wind vanes have been used since ancient Greek. Sonar, sound navigation and ranging, a technique that uses sound propagation, usually underwater, to navigate and communicate or detect objects. Application क्या है? Used in submarines, marine navigation and ocean exploration. Developed during World War I, further advanced World War II. Radar, a detection system that uses radio waves to determine range, angle or velocity of objects, used in military defense, aviation and meteorology. Developed in 1930s, widely used in World War II. ठीक. चलिए, थैंक यू. अब हम लोग आगे PYQs पे जाएंगे. बाय बाय.